Call the meeting in order. We determine a quorum.
Emily Nice, Don McFarling, Terry Carl, Janet Diet.
Here.
Christine Power.
Here.
Greg Feldman.
Here.
Daniel Nicholas. Trevor Martin. Bob Williams.
Here.
Stork.
Here.
Bill Navarra.
Here.
Mark Woods. Paul Martell. Karen Pittman. Wayne Josephi. Bobby Ball.
Here.
Jim Tuholsky. Patricia Lipovsky. Pam Phillips. Elizabeth Lendian. James Roberts. Siva Prasad.
Here.
Omar Atala.
Here.
Hamid Tabassian. Zion. Kaya Powell. Here. We have a physical forum.
Okay, if y'all would please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First and foremost, I need a motion for the people who are online to participate.
So moved.
Janet, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Very good. Let's move to public comments. Blade, you got anything? Okay,
Do your job, man. Do your job.
all right. Anybody else from the public is not sitting there? The invisible man hasn't shown up, so I will close public comments. Now, 3 action items. Review and approval of the April 21, 2026 CAC TCC meeting minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at them, read them. Any comments or corrections? If so, if none, I will entertain a motion to approve. And a second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next action item is nomination and election of CAC officers for fiscal year 26-27. Yes, ma'am.
So every year we elect officers to serve a one-year term for our committees as well as our board. The term does go into effect at the start of our fiscal year, which is July 1. And so they'll serve from July 1 of this year to June 30th of next year. Our bylaws do state that an officer cannot serve more than 2 consecutive terms in the same office. So our current officers are for chair, Mr. Greg Feldman, and then vice chair is Mr. Paul McKitka. They've both only served 1 term, which will end this June. So their desire to continue.
So you know what we're gonna do.
Is there
Or any
anybody
nomination.
interested in the chair or vice chair position?
I think Greg's doing a great job.
How'd you like me to switch with you? Watch out.
Interested in the vice chair job, but you have another term, so it's okay.
Okay, nobody really? Okay. Then we need a vote.
We would need a nomination to re-elect or reappoint the current officers.
I'll nominate. the
And if
current-
there's anyone else that wants to nominate, so it's a nomination
By
by
Janet.
Janet to retain the current officers and a second by Sandra. Is there anyone else that wants to put their name in the hat?
You're it for sure next year. There's no getting out of there.
Okay, then you can take the vote.
Okay. Then all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Can I-
What's the delay?
And the motion carries. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Another fun year. I don't know. Let's go to 4, presentations and discussion items. Presentation and discussion of the draft 2026 list of prioritized projects.
Yes. So every year we update our annual list of prioritized projects, and we are currently in the process of still updating that list. So I know there's a link in the agenda right now, but it's not populated. It will be populated by Friday. We have not had a chance for our TIP subcommittee to meet to rank and score the traffic operations projects because we had a hard time obtaining a quorum. But they're meeting Friday morning. So once they meet, then we'll be able to incorporate any new projects within that priority list. So it includes not just the traffic operations applications that we receive, but also the bike ped applications. That committee has already met. So those lists have been updated, but we didn't want to put out a series of just lists ad hoc. We wanted to make sure we had one complete list. In addition to those new projects that come in from the member governments, we also have our strategic intermodal system list and our regionally significant non-CIS roadway list. Those priorities are determined by our recently adopted long-range transportation plan, which we adopted last September. So we're updating those lists to make sure that they match and are concurrent with the new LRTP. We're also updating any project phases that have moved into the work program and are funded. We recently received funding through a TIP amendment for the Clyde Morris Boulevard project. DOT gave a presentation a couple months ago. So our list will be updated to reflect any projects that have moved into the TIP, which is the 5-year programming of funding. Any updated cost estimates. So we're still working with our member governments to make sure we have up-to-date cost estimates on any of their projects that we're looking at funding. So unfortunately, just I think because of the timing of when TIP subcommittee could meet with this agenda, we weren't able to have the compiled list, but it will be posted to our website on Friday. So Friday afternoon after TIP subcommittee meets, and we'll be able to incorporate those new projects within the list. Once it's posted, there's a 30-day public review comment period prior to the board taking action. So during that time, if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to us. We will be bringing this item back next month for full review and then present it to the TPO board at their meeting in June for adoption. Once the lists are adopted by the TPO, we transmit those to the Florida Department of Transportation for their use in developing their next tentative work program cycle, which begins in August. So we'll look at any projects that can move off of that list into the new work program cycle, and then that'll roll into the development of our transportation improvement program next year. So I apologize for not having the list fully completed, but like I said, we were having a little bit of a challenge getting a quorum for that TIP subcommittee, but we were able to achieve that for Friday, so we'll have everything posted by Friday. If there's any questions or comments about the process, please, I'm happy to address those.
Anybody with a question? Guys are easy today.
So this will be the link.
This will be the link, so it will be populated Friday. So so you'll be able to click on this, or we'll also send out information. It'll be posted on our website as well.
Okay, we'll move on to B. Presentation and discussion of the draft fiscal year 26-27 to fiscal year 2030-31 transportation improvement program.
So this is the 5-year program of projects that was developed last fall by DOT based on our priority list from last year that we adopted. So that's kind of how they roll together and they are connected. So they develop their tentative work program cycle. It gets sent up to the state for review and approval. In April, we receive the information from the state for projects that are moving forward, and then we develop our 5-year tip, which basically reflects the tentative work program for DOT. So it includes all projects that utilize state or federal funds within our 2-county area. So it's not just the projects that come through the TPO through our priority list. It also includes landscape projects, aviation projects, maintenance contracts that DOT has with the individual cities for maintenance of the facilities. So we don't actually see those projects or rank those projects, but they do use federal and state dollars, so they have to be reflected in our TAP. So that document will be posted on Friday as well. We're required to post it 30 days prior to our board taking action, which is actually Monday, but since it's a holiday, we'll be posting it on Friday. So there's a sheet that Melanie had passed out earlier that kind of gives just a general overview or summary of what we're seeing within the TIP this year in terms of the funding as well as our set-aside funding. Now, our set-aside funding is the funding that we use at the TPO that we can direct, and that's what we use on our traffic operations, our bike ped projects, as well as a pass-through, a direct pass-through to our transit agencies. But within the TIP this year, so again, it's a 5-year document, and it's a rolling document. So when we develop a new TIP, we drop the fiscal year that's ending, which is fiscal year 26, and then we add the next outer year, which in this case is fiscal year 31. So the projects that are currently in the TIP, in years 27 through 30, are staying in the TIP. We're not pulling them out or moving them. There may be some adjustments in the funding, depending on whether or not any costs have increased. But those projects, that are in the current TIP remain in the TIP, and then we add anything new. So within the next 5 years, we have just under $1 billion in projects funded. Keep in mind, this number does not include any projects that are funded within the current year that are going to carry forward. And we do what's called a roll forward amendments. So any projects that are in the current year that also continue into fiscal year 27 are not within this information. What happens is at the end of the fiscal year, DOT produces what's called a roll forward report. So those are projects that are in the current year that are going to continue into fiscal year 27. And at that time, we have to do an amendment to the TIP to add those back in. So it's a little bit interesting where we adopt the TIP and then the next month we immediately turn around and amend it. Those projects automatically roll forward in the state's TIP. We have to do a formal amendment to add them back in. So the TIP right now, these dollar amounts don't include any of those projects, but you'll see those come back through. And as you can see, the first couple of years, there's always more funding than there is in the last couple of years. And that's just for a couple of reasons, because projects previously rolled forward. So we're able to see some of those projects moving forward. The outer years always are a little bit uncertain with regard to project readiness, whether or not projects have all of their initial phases done to be able to receive additional funding. So we always want to make sure that, our first couple of years are fairly solid. And then when we work with the department in the fall, we'll look at programming the funds in these outer years when we're looking at developing the next TIP. So it's typical to see the project funding levels die off within the TIP as you move through the first through the 5th year. The second table is specific to the funds that the TPO can direct based on our projects, our call for projects within our long-range transportation plan. So we have a couple of different funding sources. We have the surface transportation block grants. That's funding that's provided to the TPO based on its formula funding based on population of our urbanized areas. And those are the funds, we call them SU funds. Those are the funds that we direct for projects that come in through our call for projects. It's our member government, bike ped, traffic operations. We also pass through funds directly to our transit agencies for their use in implementing projects as well. And then as part of that, there's also an SA category, which are funds that can be used by DOT in any area. So it's not specific to the TPO's urbanized area. It's funds they can use in any area. And we do have a couple of projects that have that SA funding on it. And one of the things that we work with DOT here is to leverage additional funding beyond the funding that we have control over directing. And by being able to do that, then we're also able to fund more projects. So the SA funding is funds that DOT has directed specific to some of our priorities. The TA funding, those are our transportation alternative funding. So those are funds that typically fund non-motorized bike ped type projects. They could also be put on a roadway project that has bike ped components. So TA funds could be fund that portion of the project. And that's something that's determined by the state, whether or not a project or a portion of a project is eligible for TA funds. But again, they're funds that come to the CPO based on formula of population in our urbanized area. So this table shows a reflection of the funds within that 5-year work program that utilize the TPO directed funding. So as you can see, it's a little over $100 million moving through. The next slide that we have is just highlighting some of those bike ped projects that come through the TPO, through our call for projects, where we rank and score them based on the criteria set forth. So these are new projects or new phases of projects that have moved into the TIP. So as you can see on this list, the first 3 projects are City of Ormond Beach projects, and they are 2 sidewalk projects and 1 trail project. The first one has design funded in the first fiscal year 27 for $270,000. The second project has construction funding in fiscal year 28 for $4.5 million. The Thompson Creek Trail project has design funding in fiscal year 27 for $874,000. The next 2 projects are City of South Daytona projects. The first one is a sidewalk project with construction funding in fiscal year 27. And then the next project is a bridge replacement project from Reed Canal into Reed Canal Park with construction in fiscal year 2030 for $4 million. The next project is a City of Port Orange project, a sidewalk bundle. The City of Port Orange has been very successful in bundling like projects. There is a requirement of $250,000 threshold for each phase of projects. So the city has been able to bundle like projects together to make sure they meet that threshold, especially in the design phase, because sometimes if they're smaller segments, they have a challenge meeting that. But this is a bundle project that they have with design funded in fiscal year 29 and construction in fiscal year 31. The Ponce Inlet Mobility Project is funded for construction. This does say fiscal year 26. It is 27. The city had requested to defer it to fiscal year 27, but that's a $6.25 million project. This is a project that the Volusia County is managing on behalf of the town of Ponce Inlet through a separate agreement between those 2 agencies. City of Port Orange also has a trail project, the Madeline Avenue Trail Phase 1, which is funded for design in fiscal year 29 for a little over $400,000. And In Flagler County, we have the Old Kings Road South Multi-Use Trail, which is funded for construction in fiscal year 27 for 4.8 million. And the Lehigh Graham Swamp Trailhead, which is funded for construction in fiscal year 28 for $1.3 million. The last project on here, which is the Clyde Morris Boulevard Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project, which is a complete streets project for Clyde Morris that runs through the Embry-Riddle campus. DOT was here a few months ago and gave a presentation on this particular project. So this project did not come through the call for projects through the TPO, but it was identified in our long-range transportation plan, and it was listed as the top ranked project on our non-SIS roadway project. So we were able to work with the Department of Transportation and get this funded ahead of where it was identified within our long-range transportation plan. So they were able to move the construction by breaking the project into 3 different phases. And that way they were able to fund the project in multiple years. So that's another way that we work with DOT in partnership to try to fund projects moving forward. And this was also one of the projects that also received some of that SA funding, which is funding that the department can use in any area. It's not just specific to the TPO. On the next slide, we have identified our SunTrail funding or our SunTrail projects. So SunTrail is a separate funding source that the TPO does not direct. It's a state funding source. So these are separate applications that are submitted to that SunTrail program for funding. They do not have an open call every year. And their call for projects typically runs from September to December. So it's off cycle from ours, but we do have a list of SunTrail priorities. And any project that is submitted to SunTrail for funding has to be on our priority list. So we don't receive the applications, we don't rank them, but if a local government wants to be considered for SunTrail funding, we ask that they let us know so that we can list them in our list of priority projects. But these are the 3 SunTrail projects that are shown in the information on the tip. All 3 of them are St. Johns River to Sea Loop, different segments through there. The first 2 have construction funding, and then the 3rd one has design funding. And on the last slide, these are our traffic operations projects. And safety. So these are the projects that we receive from our local governments. We review and rank them through a subcommittee. And that's the committee that's going to be meeting this Friday for our next year's list. But these are the ones that moved into the work program based on last year's list. So we have the Clyde Morris Boulevard Turn Lane Project. This is in the city of Port Orange. Previously, design was already funded, so it's right-of-way funding in fiscal year 28 and construction funding in fiscal year 30. Port Orange also has a turn lane project on Dunlawton at various locations. Again, this is another bundled project that the city has put together. Design has already been completed, so it's just construction funding in the first fiscal year 27 for just under $5 million. The South Daytona Traffic Camera Network. This is a project the city of South Daytona submitted. Design had already been funded through this process, so now it's just up for construction funding in fiscal year 27. Port Orange also has another turn lane project at Madeline Avenue, Nova Road, and Nova Road at Dunlawton. Again, 2 different locations that recently had a feasibility study completed. So they submitted for project implementation. So it's right-of-way funding in fiscal year 29 with construction funding in fiscal year 31. So design had already been completed. Within the city of South Daytona, there's 2 bridge replacements. So the Reed Canal Bridge replacement, which was also shown on the bike ped list because there are bike ped components to that. So it's utilizing funding in both categories. And then also a new project is the Saul Street Bridge replacement funded for construction in fiscal year 29. Within the city of Edgewater, the US 1 at Rhode Island emergency signal. So this is in front of their fire station. Previously, design has already been funded through the TPO, so it's up for construction funding in fiscal year 27. And then City of DeBerry has the Benson Junction Road reconstruction, which is funded for construction in fiscal year 27 for $5.7 million. And this is a project that had come through and was ranked. The city actually matched a significant amount. They brought in a significant local match beyond the required 10% to be able to move this project forward. So those are the projects off of the priority list that we adopted last June, which DOT used last fall to develop their tentative work program, which then we use to develop our TIP for this year. So these are just specific to our member government projects. The TIP itself has a lot of other projects, as I mentioned, all of the large capacity projects along the interstate, any other roadway projects that we have within our long-range transportation plan, as well as other projects that don't come through the TPO, like aviation projects and landscape projects. So as I mentioned, the TIP is currently being finalized. It's a couple 100-page document long. This year we are revamping the entire narrative of the document to make it more consistent and apparent to some of the other documents that we recently adopted, like our long-range transportation plan, make it consistent with the new branding that we have with the Volusia-Flagler TPO and our logo and our color scheme. So it'll look a little bit different, but the information in there will be the same. And sometimes, when people go to review the TIP, since it's such a large document, it may be overwhelming. Well, what do I look at? Look at projects within your area. You all represent a certain area. So if there's project within a particular area, the projects are grouped by categories. So all the bike ped are in one section. So if you have interest in bike ped projects, they're all going to be grouped together. The traffic operations projects are grouped together. The large capacity projects are all in their own section. So you can look at the individual sections. If you don't want to look at the aviation projects, that's a section by itself, that you can skip. And if there's any questions or comments that you have, please reach out to us. I know it's a large document with a lot of information. There's a lot of funding information, funding codes, funding sources. We do have a glossary in the back of all the acronyms and all the fund codes. So if you have a question about what something means, you can look there first. And if it's still not clear, we can provide some additional information for that. But it will be posted on Friday. So we'll send that information out. It'll be posted on our website and all of our social medias. And that's for our 30-day public review comments. We will be bringing it back next month for a discussion and any updates to the document. But if there's any questions about anything on the slides here before you today or the process, I'd be happy to address it.
Yes, sir.
So just so I understand, like you were talking about the rollover of the fund of the projects. So when they roll over, is that they didn't finish the project, but there's money left and that money rolls over, or is they ran out of money and now they've got to come in and we got to find more funding for them?
No, it's not additional funds. So it's the project, there was funding programmed on the project in the current year, and the project either extended beyond the year. Some of these large capacity projects can't be constructed in a single year. So those funds would roll over. Or it may be a project where the funds have been programmed on the project, but they have not started yet for whatever reason, various reasons. Those funds will roll over as well. So it's not new funds. It's the funds actually roll over. It's carry forward the funds that are on there.
And when you say, we do our thing here and then that goes to DOT, is that, I think, are we District 5? Is that?
We are, yes.
And so does that go to District 5 or does it go to Tallahassee or does it go, when we talk about it goes to DOT, where does it go?
So the first step, so when we adopt our priority list and we submit that to DOT, we submit it to District 5. And they produce their work program, their tentative work program that's specific to District 5. They have a work program public hearing. They have, it's a week-long online. They also have an in-person one night where it's all of the projects in the tentative work program for District 5. And then once that goes through their process, then that is submitted to Tallahassee. So it's both. But we work with District 5 first. I don't know if you have anything additional to add about the process or.
That's correct. Yes, we look at it and then it goes to Tallahassee for the final approval.
So when and where does the haggling occur amongst the different districts for Tallahassee funding?
Talk about haggling.
Well, I mean, I would sort of assume that state budget, a certain amount set aside for DOT. And then somebody decides how much goes around the state.
That happens outside of the TPO. So that happens during the development of their tentative work program. So the TPO's role is that we identify our priorities and we submit those and say, these are the projects that we want you to consider funding during this cycle. And they match it up with whether or not we have SU or TA funding, or whether or not there's additional funding that they can use as well.
I guess what I'm saying is, so is it like our state representatives and so senators that work with DOT at the state level?
Well, are you talking about direct appropriations or I mean, there's.
Just trying to get a sense for, I mean, I don't know, if we want to, if we in District 5 agree we really want to do something and we might need a little bigger slice of the pie, we would go to our state representatives and our senators and ask them to go meet with the state level DOT.
Right. One thing you have to be careful of is a direct appropriation. So there's a lot of ways to fund project. The TPO process and coming through the TPO with that's just one way. And so the TPO really doesn't have a role outside of that process. If a local government does file or request a direct appropriation from the legislature for funding of a project, that is done outside of the TPO. And so that really kind of bypasses the TPO prioritization project. And when that happens and those projects receive that funding, or I should say receive the go-ahead, it doesn't always come with funding. So the state then has to figure out, because they have to program those projects. If it receives a direct appropriation, they have to program that project. So they have to figure out from the state trust fund where that money is going to come from. And so typically that has to be taken off of another project within the same district. So that method really bypasses what we do here at the TPO. Now, there has been times when those projects have come with funding and it came out of the general revenue fund. So the state did not have to do any shuffling of projects. So that was actually, kind of a windfall, but you don't know if that's going to happen or not. That was kind of during the couple COVID years where there was some direct appropriations that came with funding. There were a couple that didn't, so the state District 5 has to figure out where that money's coming from other projects within the district.
Thank you.
It's not like a one size fits all answer.
Anyone else?
You mentioned reviewing the document and providing comments. What kind of feedback? For?
Within the tip. So sometimes we receive comments about, projects if If there's a project that is a priority for the TPO that has not yet moved into the TIP, sometimes we receive comments like that. Please consider funding for State Road 100. That was a good example of a project last year, was the widening of State Road 100. It is in our long-range transportation plan. We've identified it for outside of the 5-year TIP. And that's actually based off of DOT's cost feasible plan. So we did receive a number of comments from Flagler County residents about the need to consider funding for that project sooner. So those are kind of the information that we look for. From a technical standpoint, it's if funding years or funding amounts are wrong, and that you're not going to know that, but the technical staff, like our TCC, will know that if we have a project that, you know, it's supposed to be for $4.5 million and we have it listed for 450,000. Obviously, that's a typo, but that's kind of the input that we look from a technical standpoint. But if there's something that's important to you or your city or the county you represent that you're not seeing in there, the more comments that we can get on projects, that's the more traction that we get.
Anybody else with any questions?
Did you have a question, Bill? Oh, okay, I thought I saw.
Okay. Well, if not, we'll move forward with the UPDOT report, Kaya.
As usual, you are instructed for the latest part of your agenda packet. All of our updates. Over project, getting ready to start in 3. From I-9.
Lost the audio. I can't hear.
From State Road 44 from I-95 to East South Walker Drive. This is a resurfacing project that is estimated to our final walkthrough.
I'm sorry, we lost the audio on the phone.
Project at Nova Road, State Road, let's say at Miles Drive. Traffic signal there is doing so that project. Traffic signal that are accessible there. And then April 15th had the final acceptance of it. Done to that, that's the I-4 bridges from Orange Boulevard in Seminole County all the way to Saxon Boulevard in Each County. And for our sort of safety moment, just sharing that May does mark Youth Traffic Safety Month. And that's a reminder that young people experience our transportation system in many ways, whether it's walking to school, riding bikes, traveling with others, and time. As our daily routines change with the onset of summer, more of our young drivers will end up on our roads, whether they're going to the beach, visiting friends, or commuting to summer jobs. That being said, this month also marks the beginning of the 100 deadliest days for teens and teen drivers. Period between Memorial Day and Labor Day, crash fatalities involving teen drivers historically increases by. This year's campaign runs from May 25th to September 7th. That's underscoring the importance of safe driving habits, distraction-free travel, seatbelt use, and community as summer travel. So just a reminder to talk to your teens if you have them about safe driving and setting a good example for them. I know every time I send it to the car, I will start rocking. to make sure they're driving safe and don't have their cell phones. Lastly, are a couple of our resources that we typically have: CFO Roads, I-4, and our safety office website with my information below. That is all I have for today. Always happy to.
Just a quick question. In the information, I don't see the 95 Pioneer Trail interchange. Is that in here? Am I missing it?
It should be. I'll look it up and see. I can check. I'll check.
Thank you.
It is under construction.
It is.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Flagler Beach, we've heard some rumblings about DOT wanting to install a PHB on State Road 100 right in downtown Flagler Beach. Do you know who's leading that effort, and are they aware of the fact that we have a project or a feasibility study application to reimagine State Road 100? We don't necessarily want a new PHB to go in if we're going to redo that whole corridor anyway. So I just wondering if we could make that connection.
Oh, I don't know who's heading it or who the project manager is.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Any questions? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, the construction reports are attached to your agenda. We go to staff comments.
Yes, so I wanted to take a moment to recognize one of our staff members who this month is going to be celebrating 50 years, 20 years with the TPO. Sorry, Stephen, I was dating you. But he'll be celebrating his 20th TPO work anniversary with us. So Stephen did start with the TPO back in 2006 as the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator. And so he served in that position for 10 years. And then he moved on into the transportation planner project manager, where he took on additional roles managing the transit program here at the TPO and coordinating closely with VOTRAN and Flagler County Public Transportation. He's tackled a lot of the feasibility studies that we have had over the last few years, moved into managing the traffic operations feasibility studies as well. But we wanted to take a moment to recognize Stephen and the 20 years that he's had here at the TPO.
Don't worry, at 50 years, we'll all chip in and get you a walker. Those of us who are here. Okay, any other staff comments? No, if not, we'll go around the room for our comments. Start with you.
If I wanted to look up the Pioneer I-95, would I go to CFL Roads?
That's going to be your best place to start. And if you can't find your answers there, then I can answer.
Thank you.
VOTRAN is in the process of proposing some new changes to transit. One of the changes, actually, we're installing a new stop here at the TPO, not too far, right on Cornerstone. So if anybody wants to take the bus to come here, there will be one. Those changes are supposed to go into effect June 28th. We're waiting county council approval for what we're doing. So I'll keep you all posted on the what the changes are going to be and how it may impact your cities or county.
I don't know if the TPO has any sway with their landlord, but y'all need a sidewalk connection between your parking lot and the roadway sidewalk.
Oh, yes, we know that.
FYI.
Yeah, walking to lunch is not fun.
And I see a bunch of work going on out there, so maybe they can slap that in. That's all good.
I survived another taxis.
Hey, that's good. That's good.
I have 25 extensions left.
I'm sure there were a couple of changes too. There always is. Online, anybody? Okay, well, if that be the case, I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Unless somebody wants to stay around just for fun. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Yeah.